Hi, everybody. Just when you thought it was all over, I'm back with season 4, episode 1 of PocaTV Live. Very, very special guest today is, what shall we say, the multifaceted, multi-talented, multilingual agent of change, Kirsten van den Hul. Strap in. Here we go, people.
Give me this. Give me that. Give me this.
So, hi, everybody. Welcome back to PocaTV Live. It wasn't your fault. It was mine. It's not even a question of fault. It's just that life got in the way. And I was in Jamaica for a while with bad connection. And then a whole heap of stuff happened, which is why I left you dangling for a couple of months. I'm quite ashamed to say. But here I am back with season 4, episode 1 of PocaTV Live. That, if I may say so myself, that wonderful program in which I talk with my fabulous friends all across the globe who do work that benefits you and that benefits me. They are all people of common attitude, POCA. That's Poca. They are all people of Poca who make this a better world for all of us to live in. And I just love to showcase what it is that they do. And today you will be meeting up with my longtime friend, Kirsten van den Hul, who is so many things rolled into one that I thought, you know what, this takes a true episode of Poca TV Live to tell you all it is that she does and where she came from and how she got to be the person that she is. And of course, also what her plans are for the future. So thank you again for joining me. Leave a comment. You're always welcome to do so. The best way to do that is to watch this program either on YouTube or on Facebook, because my viewers on LinkedIn can type any comment they want, but I don't see it here in my studio. I used to be able to do that, but for some reason, LinkedIn has discontinued that basic right of ours and that basic service. So leave your comments on YouTube or on Facebook. And while you're there, follow Poca TV on YouTube and also on Facebook, so that in the future we can make more and more and more and more of these programs. If you're a regular watcher, that I don't get straight into the guest. There's always this very important thing I need to do at the beginning of each of these programs, and that is my livocation to my youngest sister, Aisha. At the end of April, it will be 13 years since we lost her. It's good to report that the tree that we planted in her memory is doing perfectly fine. It's a huge tree now in a forest, and it might even be impossible for us to visit it again. It's that big and that, full up with grass and all kinds of other plants. So Aisha, my dear sister, who really loved Poca TV even before the stuff I do now, she was the one who said, "Keep going, and one day you'll be going live." And here I am making these live programs. I did think this week while I was preparing for this program that I'm starting to feel it, that I don't have pictures of her beyond this age. She died when she was 42. And, that's what then happens. You don't have pictures of them at a later age. So at least I got a lot of pictures of her as a child and as an adolescent and as a grown up. So I'll be sharing enough pictures of her with her in the future, but none in which she would be the age she would be now, which would be 55. There you go. That's what life and death are all about. Anyway, as always, this whole program is livocated to Aisha, never ever forgotten. Quick look in the comments section. I see people there already. I see Adrienne is with us. Greetings to Poca and Miss van den Hul. How are you, Adrienne? I'm happy that you're able to watch. I got Marlies with us today, calling me by my right name, and so she should. I mean, that's the name my parents gave me. Hi, Marlies. Thank you for joining. And you know as well as I do that this is going to be an extra special episode of Poca TV Live, because Kirsten van den Hul, my guest, is a really, really very special woman. Who else is there? Donna Mattis in Jamaica saying, "Hi, Poca. Ironically, I just played Michael Jackson's Heal the World." There you go. That's exactly what we're going to try to do today. Again, Donna, you know that my friends are all about healing the world, because this world is a shambles. You, I know, for one, totally agree with me. And at least it's good to know that there are still people around, quite a few of them, who see things otherwise and who want to make this a better world. So thank you for joining, Donna. And I've been thinking about you all day today. A shout out to everybody watching, the people who are here all the time, every month, or even on the Poca TV Wednesday thing that I do on Wednesdays. Thank you for joining us again. If you're new here today because you're a friend of Kirsten's and you'd never heard of Poca TV Live, welcome. Just feel free to be part of the show. Join me and Kirsten in whichever way you wish. So that's not only comments. Let me be very clear about that. If you actually wish to be on the program, on screen, ask a couple of questions to Kirsten, or share some comments with us, you can join us here in the studio if you scan this QR code with your phone. I'd love it if you hold your phone horizontally, people, because that's the way this program is set up. So if you do scan it, just use your phone horizontally. Alternatively, if you're watching on a laptop, which actually gives me a better connection, you can head over to this URL. It's case sensitive, so PTVL is all capital letters 0401 because this is season 4, episode 1. Either way, if you wish to join us, that's how you can do it. And if you're shy, so many people are shy, then you can just share your comments on YouTube or on Facebook. I'll try to remember to put these codes up again later in the program, but I got so many buttons to push here that sometimes I forget. If I do, remind me. All right? Well, that's just about all I have to do at the opening of the program, except to tell you where my guest today is hailing from. She is, like myself, in the Netherlands right now. And like myself, she leads kind of a global life. So I'm happy that she's at home today with a good internet connection and able to join me. Are you ready for this, people? I know I've been waiting for this for a very, very, very long time. So help me welcome KIRSTEN van den Hul. KIRSTEN, you're here.
Aldit, yes, I am. So happy to be on your show. Thank you
Well,
so much for having me.
thank you for making it, because I know I asked you a long, long time ago, and then you could, but I couldn't, and then I could, and you couldn't. And finally, here we are together in this program. Have you ever seen one of these programs, KIRSTEN? I was wondering.
Yes, I have, but it was a while back.
Mm-hmm. Do you, by any chance, remember who my guest was when you watched?
No, I don't. I thought about that, but it really was a while back, and my memory has been failing me at times. I don't
I
remember.
know. All of us have that. I think it might have been Silvana
It could
Simons.
have been. It could have
Yes.
been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not about Silvana today. This is all about you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Tell us, where do we see you now today? Where are you?
I'm actually sitting in my home office, which is my favorite room in the whole house. On my right, your left, you see the door that leads to my little garden. And behind me, you see my most precious thing that I own, and that's my book collection.
Are you such a reader?
I am actually. I am. Yes.
Are you at this moment reading anything that we should know about?
I'm actually at this moment reading something by a French author, a book called Le Cerf-Volant, the kite.
Yes.
And it's written by a writer called Letizia Colombani.
Oh, see, at some point I thought it must be the Khalid Hosseini book.
No,
Kite
it's
Runner.
the same title, but this is a French author, Letizia Colombani, and actually my mom discovered her, and she passed it on to me. So yes.
Great. So we should look out for Miss Colombani's book, Le Cerf-Volant, the Kite. Yeah, good. That's a good tip. Excellent. I never heard of this book, so I might. And you, of course, you read it in French, don't you?
I do actually,
Yeah.
and that's also a nice story, because my mom, who actually used to be a Dutch teacher, she's a member of a French reading group. So yeah, and they read, and then they talk about the books they read in French to practice their French, and then that is how sometimes I end up with pretty cool French books.
Exactly. I know your mom's going to be something of a theme today, which is something you and I have in common. We are both doting daughters, and it's all about mom. But before we get to all that, KIRSTEN, what I always do at the start of these programs is show a tiny clip of my previous guest to my new guest, and just have them look at it and maybe comment on it if they so feel inclined. As I was saying, it's been a couple of months since I did a program. So my last guest was in November of last year, Hadassa van der Jacht, who is a very young, very gorgeous, very talented, and very brave woman born in Suriname, who, much like you and me, has seen quite a lot of the globe, doing all kinds of really interesting stuff. And at some point, she returned back to Suriname in South America. And my question to her was why? And this is what she had to say.
I didn't really know exactly where I can place myself into fixing any type of global problems, because I did want to contribute to something that made a difference, but I didn't know where and didn't know what. And then at the Stockholm meeting last year, there was this African activist, and she was in a panel discussion, and the panel was over, and the moderator asked her if she has any final words or a message or anything, and she only said two sentences. No, she only said one sentence, actually. She said, if you want to contribute to making a change internationally, start with making a change within your own country.
Wow.
So that's where it just hit me, and I was like, I think I have to go back.
Yes, and she did go back, and what she did there is start her own foundation that for cleaning up the country. This
Wow.
gorgeous creature actually goes through the streets of Suriname, picking up rubbish, sorting it, and she's getting people to join her. She goes to schools to talk to children about this, tries to get them
Wow.
involved. So I thought you might like this. What are your
Yes.
thoughts?
Very inspiring. And actually I also really believe in the philosophy with, you know, changing starts at home. I think everybody can be a change agent. I think change can be big, can be small, can be talking to people, can be asking a good question. So yeah, I love it, actually, this clip.
Great.
Yeah.
I knew you'd love it. I knew you would love it. Quick look in the comments section. Here is DJ Conscious joining us, also from Jamaica. Welcome to you, Kirsten. He says,
Hello, DJ Conscious.
Yes, he's my very best friend, and he does this great reggae program on Sundays on online. If ever you're interested, Kirsten. So that was last month. It's time now to dive into your own life, Kirsten. Does this make you in any way nervous?
Nervous is, I don't think, the word, because I know you very well and I trust you. So what I feel is more excited. That's how I feel. I think it's exciting.
Great. Hold the vibes, because you sent me a picture that immediately called my attention. And I, for one, believe we are where we come from. You send me this picture of, I
Yes.
believe, your two grandmothers.
Actually, on the right is my grandmother, on the left is her sister. And they are standing in a field near their home, which at the time was in Groningen, in the north of the Netherlands. So yeah, my grandmother grew up on a farm, and she actually never had the chance to finish her education. And I think that is one of the seeds that was planted in me, which led me to where I am today.
So you actually knew this grandmother. What is
Yes.
or was her name?
Her name was, unfortunately, she passed. Her name was Ali. And that is a Northern Dutch name. And what is so funny is that I ended up, as you know, traveling and working also a lot in Arabic-speaking countries. And there, Ali is actually a man's name. So whenever I speak about my grandmother, they say her name is Ali, and people in Arabic-speaking countries look at me like, "Are you sure you don't mean your grandfather?" I said, "No,
Exactly.
actually, I mean my grandmother."
Oh, that's hilarious. That's really funny. Is there anything that grandmother Ali ever said to you that sparked this fire in you that I know is there? There's this huge furnace burning in you. So anything that she might have said that helped?
Well, she was very, very proud of me and of all her grandchildren. So that has always been something that I felt. But to me also, a drive was, it's such a short time ago that daughters were not finishing their educations for several reasons. As it was in her case, it was not like it was forbidden, but there were other important things to do, like taking care of smaller children or the household, and that is just, in my case, only 2 generations ago. And for me, that realization and the fact that that is still true in many parts of this world has been a big motivation to actually fight for equality.
Yes. It's going to be the big theme in our program today. We're talking about the gender gap mostly today. the gap between men and women, and why is it even there, and why is it still there, and when is it going to end? And you, for one, are one of the forefighters on that front. So here I see you as a small child, like I say, all ready for the world. Where, what were you thinking there?
I don't know. I'm sure I was excited because actually, as a child already, I really like traveling. I'm also pretty sure that I packed that suitcase myself, because another
Sure.
thing that I was pretty strong-willed as a child, and I already really had quite some outspoken ideas about fashion. So I always wanted to pick my own clothes. And
Well, we can tell. Look at all the color coordination and the little purse, the little red purse.
the little purse. Yeah. So yeah, and I don't know where I was headed. Maybe to my grandmother. That could be, because they didn't live really nearby. We lived in the east of the country. They lived near Utrecht. So it could be that I was actually on my way to visit them with my mom, obviously, because I'm sure that she took this picture. But yeah, little Kirsten ready for the world.
But look at the face, Kirsten. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a determined little girl.
Yeah, I was very determined. I was quite strong-willed, and I don't know how old I was here, but this must have been around the time that I decided that I wanted to be a vegetarian. So yeah, that was a decision I took, and that is because I found out that meat actually were dead animals, and when I made that connection, I decided that was not for me. So yeah, I made that decision as a child, and stood by it until
You still-
today.
And you're still there. You're still among us, very healthy and everything else. So great.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a little later, I think, maybe 2, 3
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah,
Sitting on a
this
tractor.
is sitting on a tractor, because part of my family stayed up north. So that first picture where my grandmother stood with her sister, I'm pretty sure this is actually at the same farm, because the farm stayed in the family. And we visited the family now and then. So I'm pretty sure that is where you see me here at the farm.
Well, no gender, nothing with you there, because in those days, of course, it was not done for a little girl to be on a tractor, but there you are.
Yes.
Did anybody object at the time? That's
I
not
don't think so.
girls.
I
No?
don't think so. No, I don't
Okay.
think so. No. And again, I'm pretty sure my mom took this picture. So
I think so.
yeah, she would be
So-
cheering
so-
me on. Well, there you have her. Yeah.
There you have Mom.
Yeah.
So
I
tell
also know
me-
where this is. This
Tell
is one of my favorite places in the Netherlands. This is Terschelling, one of the islands in the north. And this is where my mom and me spend most summer holidays, camping at a very beautiful campsite, which was actually, as they called it, a nature campsite. So there was no electricity, there was no entertainment. There was a shower that was actually a hose that they hung on a tree. That was the shower. Cold water, of course. It was very back to nature, and that's where we spend most summers. And it was yeah. And here you see my mom, whose name is Lucy, and she's watching now. So hi, Mom.
Hi,
And,
Lucy. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
And she was a teacher, as I said. She was a teacher of Dutch. She started her career as a social worker, and later, when I was born, she became a teacher, so that our schedules were sort of in sync,
Similar.
which is
Yes.
practical if you're a single mom, I suppose. So yeah, and we grew up. I grew up in the east of the country. My mom grew up in Utrecht, where my grandparents also continue to live in the province of Utrecht, and my dad was actually from Hilversum.
Yes. Is he
Yeah.
still with us, your dad?
No, my dad is
no?
not with us, and my parents actually divorced when I was still young, so it was me and my mom on a daily business, and my dad and I saw each other every second weekend.
I see. So
Yeah.
you did have good ties with him still. Yes. So you were telling us this is in the east of the Netherlands, in a tiny little piece of the Netherlands. And the
Yes.
Netherlands in themselves are a tiny country in Europe,
Yes.
as you can see on the left-hand map. And then Botman is what we call it. Or
Yes,
button?
yeah. We say bottom because
Button.
that is yes, that's how the bottomers say it. But you write it,
Mhm.
and also you can pronounce it Botman. It used to be an independent village, quite small. I think more cows than people. I would say there's still there's still quite a lot of active farms there, and really good cheese, I have to say. It's now part of the city of Deventer, which is also the city where I was born, and
Right.
the city where
There's
I
a
went to school.
where you went to school.
Beautiful.
A beautiful, beautiful city.
Yeah.
So a quick look in the comments because they're quite frisky. You know who's here? We have there you go. There you have your mom. Hi, Lucy.
Yay.
It's so
Hi,
lovely
Mom.
to be watching. Great. And who else is this? I don't know who Paramaribo Closer is, but greetings from Suriname. Identify yourself, please, Closer, so I know who you are. But thank you for watching. It's great for of you to be with us today. So yes, Kirsten Butman, you
Yeah,
still
here
go
we
there.
go.
You still go
Yes.
there on a regular basis,
Yes,
and I
because my
believe
mom
you
is there.
because your mom still lives there. I believe you were 17 when you moved from that tiny, tiny little village to the big, big city, to Amsterdam to study.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually knew that I wanted to go to the city. I mean, as much as I loved growing up in the countryside, it has really a lot of advantages. The air is clean, there's space to play, good cheese. But
You're gonna have to bring me some of that cheese at one
yes,
point.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
But it's also at one point I wanted to venture out and explore the world. Amsterdam was that place for me. That was the first stepping stone to the world.
To the world. What were your expectations of the capital city before you went? 17 is young. I know. I left home when I was 17. It's
Yeah.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, it's young. Yeah, I was hoping to I wanted to explore and dive into culture. I had already been going to some concerts, but of course most bands, most artists don't venture out into the east of the country or the north or the south. They stay in the bigger cities, which makes sense, of course, because that's where
Yeah.
the crowds are. So that is something that I really enjoyed also and looked forward to, like diving into the cultural scene. I also was very much looking forward to university and to study, actually, to
Yes.
learn.
So, quick, it's Kazmir, who's my cousin, Paramaribo Closer.
Ah,
Hi, Kaz. Hi, lovely to see you. So, what did you go to study in Amsterdam?
well, that was actually quite a tough decision. I really, there were so many things that interested me. So I really struggled to choose. But in the end, I chose to study Russian language and literature. I had already done Russian in high school. And I had already visited Moscow because I was I actually was selected to participate in something that doesn't exist anymore. But at the time, when it was still Soviet Union, they had this thing called Olympiads, and they
Yeah.
invited students of all over the world who studied Russian. They invited them to Moscow, and then there was this whole kind of competition and big thing. And I was one of the selected students that could go when I was in high school. Can you imagine? So little
what were the
Kirsten.
criteria to be
Well,
selected?
you had to go through a sort of entrance exam. So I had studied and had extra classes from my Russian teacher, and and then I got in. So there I was, and that really made a big impact. In hindsight, I can say there's a few moments. That's where my sort of world view was formed. This first trip to Moscow was one of them. I think I must have been 13. Can you imagine?
13. When
Yes.
you said high school, I thought 17, but no,
No, it
13.
was in the beginning years of high school that I did this, and I mean, of course, traveling to a new country is always a big thing, but at the time, it was still Soviet Union. It was still pretty much it was the days of Gorbachev, so there was a lot changing also in
Oh, yes.
Russia.
That was
But it
the
was definitely
Glasnost time. And
yes, but it was definitely not a free country yet. So it was, and what made the most impression, so this Olympiad was open to kids from the whole world. So I met kids from Africa, from Asia, from the Caribbean, and the only thing we all had in common was that we all studied Russian in school. So I could speak Russian to kids from all over the world, which was wow! Like
That
this
is
is
fantastic.
yeah.
Did you keep it up? I mean, well, I
I
know
still
you did.
speak
I know.
Russian.
I know you do. Yes, you did.
I still do, but I have to say, with everything that's happening, of course, after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, also a lot of my Russian friends left the country, if they could. Of course, it's really horrible what's happening. The war is horrible, but also the situation inside the country is really really not free. So I'm not really speaking it anymore. I sometimes do. And still read it. It's it's a very
It's a
the
beautiful
literature is
language.
rich. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
language, rich
Yes.
literature, rich poetry. So
Rich-
so
rich
that's what
music.
that
Yeah.
too, that too.
Yeah.
So that's where I actually started, and then later I
So did
switched
that?
to
Yes.
I
I'm gonna
switched
come.
to East European studies to make it a little bit broader, and gender studies, women's studies, as it would called at the time.
Exactly. We're going to get to that. I just want to know if that, your liaison with Russia, if that in some way formed your political views. Just a short yes or no. We don't have time to really elaborate.
No, I don't think it did. It did shape my belief in change.
In change. And that's maybe because you saw that big change from Soviet Union to what we now again call Russia. I get that. Yeah. Before you got to your gender studies, or maybe it was after. I don't really know the timeline, but I do know that Russian was not enough for you. There was more you wanted in life, in languages, and
Yes,
and that took you to Tunisia, a country where I lived as a teenager.
I know you did. That's one of the things that that unites us. And it was so funny when we found that out. I remember that that you
Yes.
used to live there and I used to live there. Tunisia at that time, also not a free country. So also interesting and important to mention. It was still a dictatorship under Ben Ali when I lived there. So it was not free. It was sometimes also you could feel it. Like at one point, my mail was opened and then sent back opened envelopes with a tie around them, not really subtle. Friends of mine sometimes were brought in for questioning. So yeah, you could tell it was not a free country. At the same time, a country where I learned so much. And I have to say, my experience in Tunisia was also very formative for me, because it was the first time that I actually understood colonialism. It was the first time that I felt my Eurocentricity, the world's Eurocentricity. I noticed things that I hadn't noticed before. How, for example, strange it is that most pharmaceutical products like hearing aids or band-aids are based on lighter skin tones and not on darker skin tones. How strange it is that dolls sold in Africa look more like me than the girls that play with them. These kinds of things I had not ever really thought about until I lived there and experienced them and saw them.
And this is actually what got you and me to become friends, because I got a picture that's way later. This is a 2017 picture. But I remember you once sent me an email after a report I did. Do you remember that situation?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what made you write me at the time?
I think it was the fact that, the way you described it, it triggered a memory that I had, and it is, in the end, about unity. That's in the end what this is about, and actually what I think Poca is about and what I think the change agent is about,
Exactly.
which in the end, well, I'm going to show this. So this is, I have two of them. The other one you cannot see. So it's an
Yeah.
ampersand, and I have,
Mhm.
well, the other one is under my watch. But yeah, so this is, I think, what it's all about, Aldit. It's about and. It's about oneness.
Yes, yeah. I wonder why it's still taking so many people to understand.
I
But
don't know.
yes. Adriana is asking, did Tunisia actually inspire you to focus on gender studies?
Good question, Adrienne. No, actually, that was already before. So what I focused on when I did your East European studies, so after my first year at university, I focused, my focus shifted from Russian language more to the country and the region. And I researched actually Russian women's movements before the revolution, during the Soviet Union, and after the fall of the Soviet Union. That was actually the topic my final thesis was about. So that is what got me into women's studies, gender studies, and that's where that fascination started. Also having to do with exploring how revolutions, evolutions, transformations work. How come that women at one point demanded more rights, and what was the trigger that actually made that happen? That's what really fascinates me.
It is very fascinating, especially given the fact that the world used to be matriarchal, and for some reason that changed into patriarchy. So
yes,
hopefully we get time to talk about that. But on behalf of you, I want to just kind of show off, because now we got somebody who reads French, who speaks perfect English, who knows her Russian, who learned Arab as well when she was, and that's where you went to Tunisia for. And you sent me this little clip, and I'm sure this wasn't what you wanted me to show, but I'm just going to show off you and your languages. It does not need any translation, because you repeat the same thing in a good many languages. Here I go boasting about Kirsten's multilingualism. There we go.
This is the voice of Holland. Welcome to Schip Holland. Bienvenue, marhaba, bombini, dabropper zalawat. Dus dat. Dus onze taal is de sleutel. Dus dat betekent umtongo nasroto. Dus dat wantaki, our language is the key. So that means not gelangele kle. Ça veut dire, unsere Sprache ist der Schlüssel. Das heißt, nuestro idioma es la llave. Entonces, наш язык это ключ. Это значит, lugatune al-muftah, yani onze taal is de sleutel. Dus woorden worden woord toe. Strong words become mode. Vien wörter, vien palabras, hacen slava. Stanovice kalimat. Tusbihu woorden. Dus ik begrijp jou, want I understand you, because je te comprends, parce que ik verstehe dich. Dan yo te entiendo, porque я тебя понимаю, потому что она أفهمك, لأنني ik begrijp jou.
Wow, Kirsten. I mean, this is spoken word, and you do this in 7 languages.
yeah.
Is there an end to your talents?
I don't know. It's you know, I really love language. I think yeah, it is the key. That's also what this piece is about. I think it's so important to listen, to learn, to be a sponge and suck up the knowledge you can. And that is something that fortunately I've been blessed to be able to do. And I'm very aware that is a huge privilege that I had, that I have been able to study Russian and Arabic and Spanish in Cuba, and that I had a high school that also really stimulated exchange with other countries, and a mother that stimulated that from a very early age. So thanks, Mom.
And the talent to actually pronounce all those languages. I mean, let's not be too humble about this. Really, I think it's gorgeous, and it actually brought you something. You sent me this picture, and I'm taking it as a pars pro toto for your work in the Middle East and North Africa, because I see you here, obviously in a country where you are wearing a veil. Where is this?
This is actually a very special picture to me, because this is actually on Tahrir Square in Cairo. During the revolution.
Wow.
So the square was full. as you see, mainly with men around me, but there were definitely also women. This was a bit the edge of the demonstration. So behind me there were still people, but in front of me it was really like standing body to body. So I was standing a
remember
little
those
bit.
pictures, yeah.
Yeah. And they were shouting the people wants the regime to fall, and it was one of those, as I said, change and transformation really fascinate me. So this whole movement also really
The Arab
fascinated me.
Spring is what we called it at the time.
Yeah.
Yes. So did you in some way, were you involved for work, or was it just
Yeah, I
pure
was
passion?
actually writing an article about it. So during this particular trip where you see me here, I was actually interviewing several activists and also ordinary Egyptians, so to say. Of course, everybody's an ordinary whatever, but I also wanted to interview people who not necessarily identified as an activist, but still wanted to know how do they feel about what's happening. So I interviewed people. I did a report for the newspaper that I was actually a columnist for at the time.
Yeah, because you did that as well. People in the comment section, what is it that, here's my, Rachna saying she understands all those languages. Sure, Rachna, keep on dreaming. And DJ Conscious, what does he have to say? What's your view on Saudi Arabia appointed as chair of the UN Forum on Women's Rights?
I think as much as I would wish to say that it would be cause for some optimism, I'm afraid that I cannot support this decision. I really think with everything that has been happening in Saudi Arabia, we're still activists are really not free to speak their minds, including feminist activists. I find this a form of pink washing, if you may.
Pink washing, yeah.
Yeah, like greenwashing when companies say, "Oh, we're so environmentally conscious." I think this is part of a longer standing campaign of Saudi Arabia to actually wash away their negative image, and they do that through sports, and they do that through seemingly becoming a little bit more progressive. But in the end, if you look at legislation, women are still not free to travel. Women are still not free to make their own decisions. So no, I'm not really happy with this decision.
No. DJ Conscious still asks, could it be that the decision seems so unfathomable that in a perverse way it makes it almost fathomable? That's
sometimes
DJ
that's the
Conscious
reality
question.
of the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are things that are so that it's almost a paradox, but we've unfortunately seen that before, and that is, I was at the UN, we'll get to that later, but the UN is a very complicated ecosystem. I have it's an ecosystem. I have a bit of a hate-love relationship with it. So, and this is part of what I don't like about the UN, that sometimes very, very, unlikely countries get to be in a position that they actually wield power over a topic that they might not necessarily be the best placed.
Because it's their time, because they did something else, whatever, in return. Let me see. I'm actually remembering to re-invite people to join us here on screen. If you wish to be on the program, scan the code with your phone or on your laptop, head over to that URL and be on screen here with Kirsten and I. Not the entire program, people. You get one chance to ask her one thing and she will or will not answer. That's the way this program works. But you're very welcome to join us if you so feel inclined. Yes, Kirsten. So you've mentioned the change aspect in your life. You actually became your first company. You called it the Change Agent.
Yeah.
And one of the very few English interviews I found of you online actually talks about that. So. DJ says, thank you for your answer. That's it. Thank you for your answer. And Adrienne says, holy consensus, where the United Nations are concerned. So yes, that program I found of you in English is with we call him the American Dutchie or the Dutch American. He's a comedian and he does programs much like this. His name is Greg Shapiro, and you were on his program.
Well, let's start with your. You got started with the change agent.
Yes.
Without change, no butterflies.
That's my motto, yeah.
And but how did that get started?
Well, I've always been fascinated by change and transition.
Yeah.
Ever since I studied Sovietology, so I studied, for example, the fall of communism. And,
Okay.
And particularly, I'm interested in what change means to women.
Yeah.
And I believe that the situation of women in a particular country, the status of gender equality in a particular country, is like a thermometer of progress in a particular country.
True.
And that is why I chose gender as one of my main topics.
It's so totally clear what you mean by that, but maybe you would still like to elaborate just a little bit on what you just told to Greg Shapiro in 2000.
Yeah, it is true. I really think women are an interesting thermometer because, well, you see that now actually in a negative example. You see that, for example, repressive regimes, autocratic regimes, patriarchal regimes usually start by turning back women's rights. An example, for example, is Russia, where Putin actually decided to take domestic violence. That's a term I don't really like. I usually like to call it partner violence because domestic sounds way too cozy. It's nothing
like we're
cozy
on a
about that.
picnic together. Yeah.
Yes, so partner violence, let's call it what it is. But he decided to remove that from the criminal code, so it's no longer punishable by law.
Wow.
We've seen the same movement in Turkey, where actually Erdogan decided to pull out, ironically, of the Istanbul Convention, which was a convention that actually was signed in Turkey, believe it or not. I mean. And he decided to pull out of that. So, and the same we've seen in Hungary. So there's a few really, red lines that I see as thermometers, like aha. And then women and other, let's say, minorities or disenfranchised parts of the population are like a canary in a coal mine. When they start suffering, then you know, okay, this is serious.
Yeah. How do you explain that it's women that are the first to lose their rights? What's this
it's
targeting
women.
of women?
Because that is, I think, how the patriarchy rolls. Patriarchy needs control and needs to control women, because women are to some men in the patriarchy a threat. And
why?
I think it has to do with reproductive power. I think it has to do with creative power. I think it has to do with soft power. But
are the men jealous? Are the men jealous, and this is the only way that they can vent that?
Maybe, but I've also come across men who openly say that they really believe that men are supposed to hold power without women actually ruining the party. And there's quite a few men around the world of many different faiths, backgrounds, in many different countries, who actually share that vision that women belong at home, that women should not have a role in the public domain, that women should not have a voice, and that it's actually okay to keep women in that role, even if you need to use force.
So, in fact, you're saying women don't need to disappear; they just need to be inside the house with the locks, with the doors locked. So that means those men, let's not say all men, but you know what I mean. Those men see women as a commodity. DJ
I think so. Yeah, as I agree with you, Marlies. Fear.
Yeah, and DJ says ego.
Partly also, yes, I'm afraid so. And I also believe it has something to do with, if you've been brought up in a patriarchal system where you were taught that you were meant to rule, that you were meant to provide and be in charge, without showing emotion, without showing weakness. I put that between brackets because I don't think that is weakness. But I think then a strong woman standing on a square demanding rights can be indeed very frightening, because it shakes the foundation of what you were led to believe to be true. So indeed, yeah. But the patriarchy has a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and that is really a huge problem, because a lot of men are in power and have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and that's what we see in these kinds of movements that want to turn back the clock, want to turn back legislation, want to say that domestic violence, or partner violence, as I prefer to call it, is actually not a bad thing. And you'd be shocked to see the numbers, how many men actually support these ideas, also in the Netherlands, actually.
Exactly. It's frightening.
Yes.
Well, this is going to be the theme of the second part of this program. But to separate part one from part two, Kirsten, there is this halfway little item that I do with my guests, and it is called
On the Spot. 5 quick questions to...
5 quick questions to Kirsten van den Hul. I'm sure you've been in many, many of these items in which I give you 2 choices and you have to choose one, and you're not allowed to even elaborate until we've done all 5. Then you can choose 1 or 2 on which you can elaborate a little bit more. So are you ready for this, Kirsten?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1 is, are you a pessimist or an optimist?
An optimist.
Question number 2, do you feel Dutch or do you feel global?
Global.
Question number 3, get a little harder, you know. Question number 3, left-wing politics of solidarity are dead. Yes or no?
Whew, that's a hard one.
I know, and I'm sorry to hurt your feelings with it.
No, you don't. You don't hurt my feelings,
Okay.
because it's a good question to ask. But I'm gonna say no.
Because you're that optimist you were talking about
Yes.
earlier. Okay, 1 step more tough. Women must stop waiting and talking and start doing. Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. What is the one thing, final question, the one thing, Kirsten van den Hul, that you would never, ever, ever, ever do again?
Stay in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. Well, this is your chance to choose one on which you would like to elaborate.
One of the things we talked about of these questions.
One of these 5. Which one would you like to tell me more about?
I would like to talk more about the optimism, because it has to do with actually all questions.
Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Well, it is a very important question, especially in these times. And I really also do want to use this platform to speak out against the atrocities that are happening at this moment in Gaza, where children are dying, where hospitals are being bombed, where journalists are being killed. And at times like these, and Gaza is not by far the only place where people are suffering. Sudan, Congo, Yemen. I mean, the list is so long.
Thank
It's
you for
very
calling
hard.
out those names too,
I
because
really want to mention it because they're so often forgotten. And it's in times like these very hard to stay an optimist, because if you watch these pictures, if you listen to people, if you read the stories, you think, how is it possible that we can ever become better as a world, that we can heal from all of this madness?
well, you're asking the question, can you answer it?
I
How
think
can we do that?
we do not have the choice not to be an optimist. That is really, I really feel that it is our moral obligation to remain brave, because the world needs better. We must do better, and that is why I keep believing that it is possible, even though I have to confess, also when I was in politics, there were days where I was just super, super pessimist because of all the stuff I saw happening around me. But still, you know, if we say forget about the whole thing, and then I think, you know, that is a luxury we cannot afford. So that is why I say you have to stay brave. You have to be an optimist. It is what got me out of an abusive relationship. It is what still drives my political views, even though I also believe that I understand if people would answer that question about left solidarity with no. I understand why people would say that, especially because if you look at what's happening around the world. But for me personally, it is really the engine, you know, under everything I do. We need to do better. We need to do better. We can do better. There have been examples in the history of the world where it got better, and we must be brave.
What should we be looking at?
Look at revolutions that did succeed. Look at universal suffrage. Look at movements that actually got colonial powers to step down. Look at movements that led to real radical change that was inconceivable. I mean, women's voting rights did not have a majority for a long time. It was considered a totally like radical standpoint. Not so long. I mean, when my grandmother, you saw her picture in the beginning, when she was born, women did not have the right to vote. It happened.
Let me be, if you allow me to be the cynic in this, just, you know, for the sake of discussion. I agree with you that a lot has been changed, but I would say a lot changed on paper. But in practice, where are we? You're talking about colonial powers. Yeah, they're gone on paper, but they still rule the world. You're talking about the suffrage. Women got rights, but yeah, we still get underpaid. You're talking about countries that liberated themselves, or people who liberated themselves, but they're still oppressed. So it's all, if I'm really cynical, it's all very much on the exterior. It's all in name, and it's all we, the United Nations, etc., and the countries in the world are doing better. But are we?
Well, I think we are in some ways, and in other ways, there's still a lot of waking up that needs to happen, and especially this and that we talked about, the connectivity of everything, the interlinkedness of problems, the fact that actually all the things you just lined up in your, let's say, list of pessimism,
it's one and the same thing.
It's patriarchy. Is equals colonialism, equals capitalism, equals right-wing politics, equals, I mean, all of that is the same in my worldview. And I think it is a pity that a lot of how we've organized the world, and therefore also our systems, and therefore also our political systems, are still very much chopped into little boxes, little pieces. And that is, I think, not the way to solve the huge problems of this world. I mean, we haven't even talked about climate crisis. Another example, by the way,
all interlinked.
of what women where women are suffering more. Women bear the brunt of most of the world's problems, and that's why I think that's a very good place to start.
Well, to me, there's only one way out, and that is to let women rule the world for 50 years. That's all I ask. 50 years of people like you and me, you know, reorganizing the world, getting rid of those systems, putting in place systems that work for all of us, because you and I, we do not hate men, whatever anybody ever says. We need men, we like men.
I love them.
Except when they do
Not
this.
all of them.
Not all, not all of them. Yeah, but 50 years, would that be enough?
I don't know, because some of the systems are really deeply rooted, and it takes quite some time to dismantle them. And again, like I already said, there's quite a lot of people who have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and they put up a fight.
Men and women have
men and women. Oh yes. My friend Mona El Tahawi, Egyptian feminist, she calls women who support this foot soldiers of patriarchy, and I think that is quite a good expression and description of there's it's not necessarily that female politicians are fighting the good fight.
Actually, we often see that they don't. They actually make their own way, and then, they drop the rest of us. Lucy, your mom is saying, yes, women power. Yes, Lucy, women power. We just want 50 years at least. And Donna says, change, yes, according to neoliberalism is what I think she means. Yeah. Anyway, we're right in the middle of your topic now. We're talking, and all of a sudden, Kirsten, you must know there are days in my life that I wake up and open my phone for the latest news that I'm actually happy. And some of those days have had to do with you. For example, that day when I woke up to find out that you were chosen to represent the Dutch women at those same United Nations.
Yeah.
That, yes, DJ, I saw your comment on the United Nations. We passed the topic now, but let's talk about Kirsten being the women's representative. What is that?
Well, it's actually quite unique. So most countries send diplomats to the United Nations to speak. And that is what we often see in political debates and at the Security Council. But the UN has many different topics that they talk about. And one of them is actually gender equality. And there are a few points in time in the year where that topic is on the agenda. One of them is at the General Assembly. That's the big meeting where
It's
all
so daunting. You were actually in that room?
Yes, I was. And then there is also the Commission on the Status of Women, and that's where the negotiations actually take place about progress, hopefully, on gender equality. And most countries, as I said, send a diplomat, but the Netherlands have decided a long time ago to actually send a independent women's representative representing civil society. So, and that is a position that you can apply to, and I did. And I made it, and that was really a cool experience.
Why did they choose you? Why did they choose you?
I think because of my ideas about also involving men in this discussion. I think it is important to have an inclusive conversation about the topics we talk about. And I think also because of my language skills, because I spoke about reaching out and connecting. You need to have this conversation with as many people as possible. So that is something I promoted. Yeah.
So what did you say? Why do the UN not have your speech there? Why is it not online?
Well, because actually at the UN, they do not record all their sessions like in a way that you can sort of, and this was 2011. So 11, it's now, yeah. This is not today. I think today it would be easier to do that. But it was, I spoke about the need for a HEvolution. With the S between brackets, because I think it's also a HEvolution. And that is also the title of my book.
There you go. It's right there on the screen. Yes.
Yeah.
And is that Lucy?
That's Lucy indeed. I gave her my first copy. Yeah.
That's
the publisher asked who do you want to give the first copy to? And they were like, should we invite a famous person? I'm like, I think I would like to give the first copy to my mom.
Exactly. So, Lucy, let us know what you felt that day when you received that first copy of HEvolution. Take us a little bit through your book. You were saying the S is in brackets because it's actually a HEvolution.
As well, I think.
As well. It's that means women, but men as well need to evolve.
Yeah.
So that things will be more
balanced,
equitable, balanced.
Yes, and I think maybe even maybe men have more to gain even from this. And I think what I already mentioned. A lot of men are actually quite constricted in expressing emotions because they were taught that it's not good to be weak. I think a lot of men would benefit from being more in touch with, for example, caring, self-care, caring for others, speaking about emotions. So those are examples that I think are part of that balanced, equitable world. But it's also about that rat race of patriarchy equals capitalism equals, exploitation. And and I think a lot of men are also on the let's say on the on the losing side of that equation, you know.
Yes.
So there's a lot of I think the world has to gain in if we balance things more equally. And actually research shows that, so that is also interesting. I mean, I am more myself morally driven in this discussion. For me, it's a moral thing. I think it's just ridiculous that women are underrepresented in positions of power and overrepresented when you look at, you know, victims of violence or femicide or all these horrible things. So for me, it's moral. But there are people who are more economically driven, and even for those people I have good news, because it's not just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do. You know, why wouldn't you? That's
Well,
my question.
Exactly. I've said it before, and I'll say it again today. There's this wonderful program that I saw on the BBC once, in which they followed a school class, first grade, like the 6 and 7 year olds. And at the beginning of the school year, it was all the boys beating up on the girls, and the teacher was facilitating this by calling the boys bloke and my chum and my mate, and the girls were darling and love. And the math was given to the boys, and the girls, like you were saying, were to play with their little dolls and whatever it was. And then in came this child psychologist, and he said, let's change it for a year. Give me 1 year to work with this class. And at the end of the year, all of a sudden, the boys could express emotions without it being anger, because that was the only emotion they were able to express, was anger. So even if they were sad, they were angry. If they were lonely, they were angry. You know, at the end of that 1 year, Kirsten, it was a totally different class.
Yeah.
So that's proven what you just said.
Yeah, and
There's so much to be gained.
There's so much to be gained, so much to be gained. And language again, sorry, I come back to my passion, but language plays such a large role here. Like you said, boys are called certain things, girls are called certain things, and that has an impact. It has an impact, just like images have impact. If you it's really true, you can't be what you can't see.
There you go. That's exactly what it is. So that's what's all about, what your book HEvolution is about. Your mother has reacted by saying she was moved and very proud when you presented the first copy to her. I can imagine that, Lucy. We can tell by your face that you are very moved and very proud. So yeah, great. Congratulations on such a wonderful daughter. I love her to bits. So let me see what's up next. We were talking about your time at the United Nations, and after that you wrote the book HEvolution, in which you tell us what you just told us now. There was one young lady who actually spoke at the United Nations one time, and I know for a fact that you were very moved by that speech. And this is no other than Emma Watson, who most of the world knows as Hermione of Harry Potter, but she's now a grown woman, and she's actually a representative, not quite like you. She's like, well, we'll see in the clip what she had to say in front of the United Nations. Here comes Emma Watson.
I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body. I think it is right that women be involved on my behalf in the policies and the decisions that will affect my life. I think it is right that socially I am afforded the same respect as men. But sadly, I can say that there is no one country in the world where all women can expect to receive these rights. Yep. No country in the world can yet say that they have achieved gender equality. These rights I consider to be human rights, but I am one of the lucky ones. My life is a sheer privilege because my parents didn't love me less because I was born a daughter. My school did not limit me because I was a girl. My mentors didn't assume that I would go less far because I might give birth to a child one day. These influencers were the gender equality ambassadors that made me who I am today. They may not know it, but they are the inadvertent feminists who are changing the world today. We need more of those.
Wow. Wow, such a strong, strong speech.
Really one of
Kirsten-
the best speeches ever, I think.
Ever, yes. I hear something clicking. I don't know
Oh.
what it is, Kirsten. I think maybe it might
Okay.
be your
My mic?
glasses or your mic. Oh, that's a lot
Okay.
better.
Yeah.
So what she says is instrumental. She did not have parents who loved her less. She did not have teachers who didn't expect anything from her.
No.
How important is that to have that as a young girl?
Super important. Super important. It's yeah, it's a stepping stone. It's your cheerleaders. It's so important, and it's unfortunately still the case that there, across the world, so many girls and boys don't have that stepping stone, don't have that support network, don't have those cheerleaders around them, don't have people who see them, and that is why education is so important. I just cannot stress that enough. And that is also what really saddens me to see also in my home country, in the Netherlands, that educational inequality is actually growing. So the gap is actually growing, and that is so worrisome.
Why is that happening? And this is maybe the reason why I'm asking you about those left-wing politics of solidarity. Solidarity with women seems to be out the window. What happened? What happened to not just Dutch society? I think this is a global thing. What happened within society that we are moving backwards?
Yeah, it's really strange. I think it is partly to do with the fact that history has always never been linear one way up. It's always been a sort of up and down, up and down,
Cycle.
up and down. Yeah. So that is one thing. I think another thing is that we've seen over the past decades, we've seen inequality grow on every single scale. I mean, the rich are getting richer. There's like this list of the 10 richest men. They're all men. And they get a lot richer. They even got richer during COVID, whereas for most of the world, COVID were very hard times. Most people really had to
Straight.
make ends meet, and that inequality we see reflected in other domains as well. And we see educational inequality if we talk about the Netherlands, and that is one of the topics I worked on as a member of parliament. We see that, for example, there's a shortage of teachers. But that shortage of teachers is not equally distributed over cities and towns. The shortage of teachers actually hits the schools the hardest, that are in the neighborhoods that are where problems are actually mounting. So it's not just, for example, schooling, it's housing, it's income, it's, and all of that combined makes, it creates a vicious cycle. And it's so hard to actually overcome that and to become that better version of you, and I think everybody deserves that fair chance to actually become the best version you can be, whatever that looks like. And that can be many different things, but at least have the freedom to explore that.
There you go. And also what this world needs is a different type of leader. And here again is something that you are contributing to, because you are, and you have been for a good while now, one of the European young leaders. You've actually just come back from Paris, I believe.
Indeed. Yeah, we had another conference where I was invited to speak about the transformative power of culture in my current role as director of Dutch culture. It's an amazing network, the European young leaders from all sorts of different spheres of life. So there's artists, there's politicians, there's also entrepreneurs, journalists. And it's really, really inspiring to be surrounded by so many great minds who all share this same passion for making the world a better place.
Yeah. So how do you differ from the people running the place now? What is it that you do differently?
You mean people running the place as in politically?
Yes, as in world, the neoliberal agenda, like Donna Mathis was saying
I
What
think
is it that you do differently?
I think a few things we do differently as young leaders. I think for us, it's very much about finding solutions instead of zooming in on the problems. There's a lot of that going on. That was also one of my frustrations in politics, that a lot of the debates are actually around how can we blame people for the problems that we have, and not really finding constructive solutions
Yeah.
for real issues that people are facing. I think it's also very much about interdisciplinarity again. So not just focusing on one thing, but looking at the bigger picture, connecting the dots. I think
I
that
guess
is
that in
another.
itself is different from how politics are run
Yes.
these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, and if you don't have an example, you just tell me. Is there an example of one of the issues that we've been talking about today that the European young leaders have come up with a solution, like you're saying?
I'm not saying that we've solved because otherwise, yeah, that would be no. But I can give you an example of something that we did concretely. You know, I said before, you can't be what you can't see, and we talked about that as European young leaders. And some of us came up with the idea, and I also really want to credit Mary Fitzgerald, an amazing journalist from Ireland, who actually was really at the root of this idea. Why are public names such as subway stations usually referring to old white men? That is not really an inspiring starting point for a journey in life for young
Right.
girls or other people that are not an old white man. So we came up with an alternative subway map for the Brussels subway system, Brussels being the capital of Europe, the administrative capital of Europe. So we came up with a subway map of the Brussels subway system entirely consisting of women's names. Well, that is a very practical project that we did. It was a project also that has symbolical value, but I think also really a powerful statement that
Is
you
it
cannot be what you
permanent
can see.
Yeah, is that permanent? The name change?
No, it's a map, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
it yet has to be adopted, but,
Implemented.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what that does. Because who gets to decide? Is that Belgium or is it Brussels? Like you say, Brussels
I would
being
say the city of Brussels. That's
city
usually, I
of
think, who
Brussels.
decides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So still some lobbying needed there.
Exactly. So you're actually telling me that by doing small, unexpected things and just shifting the way we talk about stuff,
Yes.
that would help.
I think it is not the solution, but it's part of the bigger solution. So I think if we resign to this status quo, then nothing will change. So I think it's important to connect with like-minded people, if only for the comfort it brings, because sometimes being aware of what's happening in the world can be a very lonely place. It can be a very lonely and sometimes also depressing place if you see the news, if you have an open mind, if you are sensitive. So I think one thing is very important is to connect to others who share your compassion and empathy for the world and so that is one thing. I think another thing that we can do is come up with creative solutions on how we would do things differently. And I think the female subway map is a very practical and also somewhat, I mean, that was also an artistic way to actually do it. But there are so many ways of expressing your belief in change for the better. So I think, small things can change it all.
They can. Yeah, the DJ has a slightly off-topic question. He asked, "Do you think gender change helps?" But he says is helpful. Gender change. That's a whole new topic. But
I really believe that if you're talking about gender expression and the freedom that people have to change the way they express their gender, I really believe actually in that new world that we're talking about, that these boundaries also would no longer really matter that much. I think I really believe in the personal freedom of expression, and I believe in the right for people to express how they feel their gender. So yeah, that is how I see.
For many cultures, it's only going back to the way it was before the
before the
colonial
colony, exactly.
So
yeah,
many people don't
that's
know
how
that.
I see
But
it. Yeah,
go to Thailand, go to Nigeria, there's many
Indonesia.
countries, Indonesia, where there's much more than two genders. It's just that There we go again. It's the church that came up with the idea, I guess, that it's supposed
Well,
to be
and
binary.
patriarchy again.
There you go. It's always patriarchy. Yeah. We're going to quickly just kind of swish over the time because look at the time
Yeah.
already. The time you were a columnist.
Yeah.
That's a time when you wrote perfectly good analyses of what's going on in the world, always well argumented, always really well written, fun to read as well. And you did
Thank
that
you.
for 4 years. I know one day my mom called me and said, have you ever heard of a Kirsten van den Hul?
I
Because-
remember.
Do you? Because
yeah, because you sent me a message that
She
was
did.
happening. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
wonderful to hear that. Yeah, actually, it's you know, I think maybe as a columnist, I may have even had more impact than as a politician.
Why do you say that?
Because you reach so many people's homes as a columnist. And if you are on their kitchen table addressing a topic that is maybe not easily talked about, such as, for example, partner violence or other important issues to write about, a newspaper is actually read by many people, more than the number of subscriptions. Newspapers pass around, they are laying around. And I got so many letters from readers talking about the issues that touch them. So yeah, I really loved being a columnist.
And we still miss you. When did you last? I
Thank
think in
you.
2016 is when
Yeah,
you
it was.
stopped doing that? Yeah.
When I became a candidate for parliament, that's
Yeah.
when I needed to
Exactly.
stop, because then I was no longer deemed fit and
There.
independent.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way that you kind of segue me into the next part of the program. And you've done it at least 4 times already, because yes, there was another day that I woke up and opened my phone to read the news. And there we heard and we saw that you had put yourself on the candidate list for the Labour Party in the Netherlands, Partij van de Arbeid. And I do remember at the time, your really good friend Jamila Anzi, who's your partner in crime in many projects that you do, she wrote that day her endorsement for you on her Facebook page. That's Jamila there. And she said, I'm just paraphrasing there, the added value of Kirsten van den Hul is that she knows the value of diversity, empathy, and inclusion. We're talking 2017. Nobody was talking about those topics at the time. And Kirsten, what I did know is that so many Black and brown people in the Netherlands are such big fans of yours because of this. How did you come up with diversity, empathy, and inclusion?
Well, I think it has to do with the path of life that I walked till that day and till today. So it has to do with the fact that, well, I was different from kids in my village growing up. That is a feeling that led to empathy with other people that are called different. I don't think anybody is different, because we're all the same. But yeah, if people confront you with...
Actually, we're all different. We're all different.
We're all different,
Yes.
and therefore the same. So yeah, that is... and also my experience living abroad, all of these experiences and my experiences with, well, being confronted with what the ugly side of patriarchy can do. I think all of that gave me, led to a level of awareness on the importance of empathy and the value of inclusion.
Yeah. Well, you got elected. Yay, you got elected. There you were in Parliament. Talking on behalf of me.
Yeah.
You did, of course, get my vote.
Thank you.
How did that work out for you? Those what is it, 4 years that you were in Parliament?
Yeah, I did one term. Yeah, that's hard to sum up in a few sentences, but I try. It was a huge honor. It was an honor that I felt. So the picture on the left top corner, that's me being sworn in. And that was such a proud moment, Aldit, because I felt like, people voted for me, and I now carry that weight of of that vote.
Responsibility.
That was a lot of responsibility, but
Yeah.
also such a huge honor. So here you see me beaming with that, as I promised to be true to the Constitution. So that is me on the top corner. Then below, that was also a very happy memory, the memory of campaigning, in this case, together with my mom, and in this
she is
case, in my
again.
city, The Hague. Yeah, Samen
Yeah.
vooruit. And
Yeah.
that is really the nice part of politics, where you get to speak to people, the human side of politics.
You
The
were really good
picture-
at that. You were
I
always among
every
people.
week I did a tour of parliament. So I hosted people. I did working visits every week. So that is, I think, what a member of parliament should do. You're a representative. So I really wanted to be where people are and get feedback and input that I could take to debates. On the right, you see one of my most proud moments, and that is
Powerful
me with
women.
with two very dear colleagues, Nevin on the left and Vera on the right, Green Left and D66.
Yeah.
And this is where we defended our constitutional change, where we actually added two categories to our anti-discrimination bill in the Constitution. That's Article 1. And we added LGBT rights and handicapped people's rights.
That was you.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was the first round.
Article 1 in the Netherlands is based on the rights that supposed to count for every Dutch person.
Yes,
That's
and
imperative.
many
Yeah.
countries already had handicap and sexual orientation in that list. That, of course, also include gender and race.
Religion.
And in our case, we felt that handicap and LGBT rights should be part of it. And we actually did the first round. The groundwork was done by people before us, because a constitutional amendment takes a long time, as it should, because it's not something that you should take lightly, of course, and it takes 2 terms at least of debate. So we did the first round of debates. People before us actually did the first work. We defended the change in both chambers, so the Parliament and the Senate. And then people after us, they finished and let's say they tied the bow around it, and now it's done. Something that I'm really proud of. So this is the beautiful side, what you see here. So the proud side, the representative side, and the side where you actually could make a change for people, because this actually made the people that were concerned, made them very happy. But there were also moments where it was really hard. As a female politician, you sometimes are the target of hate on social media.
There we go again. Yes.
You sometimes have to deal with with the ugly side of politics, which is not about making things better for people, but which is about making other politicians look better, or which is about personal attacks. So it was also sometimes a very it was also hard.
Yeah. Jaap Waferijn, who is a very loyal viewer of anything on PocaTV. Hi there, Jaap. He says he has to leave now, going into the night shift. But what he also says, it's a wonderful contribution that you make to the discussion. So
wow, thank you, Jaap.
That's you he's talking about. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Jaap, and good luck on the night shift.
Good luck, Jaap. Be careful out there. It's a dread world, you know that, Jaap. Yes. So Kirsten, so 4 years in Parliament. As a representative of me, why did they not put you in the position to be re-elected after those 4 years? Weren't you the perfect person to run for the office of Prime Minister?
Well, Aldit, the candidacy committee didn't think so, obviously. And
I'm asking why. I know they didn't. Why? They chose somebody else, and look what happened. Labour went down the drain in the Netherlands after that. I'm sorry to be so
I'm not saying down the drain, but there were many many very, very talented people on the list of candidates. And one of the things that I was very proud of, and still am very proud of and happy with, is that the time when I was I was on number 13 on the list. We didn't get
Yes.
enough votes for that, so that's why I was not re-elected. That time, the people on number 12 and 11 and 10 were people of color. And I'm really happy that our parties, by now it's two, the Green Left and the Labour Party, take diversity seriously. So last election, we had many people of color. We had young people on the list. We had people from different parts of the country. And I believe in representation. So that made me proud. Why they did not put me higher?
I love your answer. But you could have
yeah.
been higher up on the list before the people of
You
color.
know what, Aldit? In hindsight, I think this was really actually good for me.
Why?
Because life in politics is really hard. It is quite demanding. It's a way of life. It's not a job. It's 24/7. You're always online. You're always on. And I think for me, and also for my loved ones, it was quite it was quite a thing. So I would have loved to continue and also do the second round of that constitutional amendment. But politics, somebody once told me, you should never forget that blue chair is not yours.
Exactly.
And
so
I
don't
think
get stuck to it.
Never get stuck to it. It's an honor if you are allowed, if you are granted the privilege to be seated on that blue chair for a couple of years. Do your thing, and then also hand it over to the next generation. And that for me was a very, very wise advice, and I live by it. So I'm very happy that I got to do what I did.
Yeah.
I'm also very happy that I got to pass the baton, and actually what I do now I enjoy so much that I say,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But what you're basically saying is, don't be like our former prime minister and stick around for years on.
No, you need to know when you, and especially in politics, I think it's a borrowed chair, and you need to take that privilege very seriously.
But do you look back and say, I did what I could within those 4 years? Okay.
I'm really proud of what I did. There's some things that I did that were never done before. For example, I was the first MP that spoke about her personal experience with partner violence, giving a voice to survivors that thanked me for that. So that already in itself made it worthwhile for me. I'm really proud of what I got to do.
I get that. Yeah. So you left Parliament, and for those who then think, well, here she is drifting in life, nothing is ever going to happen again to this woman. No such thing, because yet another day I open my phone and there's big news. Here you are getting some kind of what is this in France? They're giving you the Légion d'honneur. That's very prestigious.
Yeah, that's what we would call like knighthood here in the Netherlands. So I received this decoration from the French. I was awarded with this honor, tremendous honor, because of my work for Dutch-French relations. When I was in Parliament, I was a member of the Dutch-French Friendship Committee, investing in bilateral relations. I also spoke at the French Assemblée about women's rights, of course.
And that was the of course.
Yes, yes, indeed. And I also got it for exactly that, for my work on women's rights, and that was a topic that they wanted to acknowledge. So I was so grateful for that. Really proud moment.
Congratulations. You know how proud that makes, like I say, you open your phone and there's my Kirsten.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm still super proud. I couldn't believe it when I received that letter. Really super proud.
Right. So is that a one-time thing, or does that make you are you a knight forever?
Yes. You're a knight forever, and so you have this medal that you see on the picture, and then
what are you then? What do they now have to call you? Like, are you Dame? But in French,
no,
what are you?
No, I'm not Dame, and people do not need to bow for me. But my name is on a list with very impressive people, so I'm super humbled by that. Whoa. And at special occasions, very special occasions, I'm allowed to wear this medal. And for other occasions, I have this little sort of
A
button
small
that you
one.
can wear. Yeah.
And are
yeah.
you allowed to wear it only in France, or can you wear
No.
it to, if, for example, the King of the Netherlands invites
Yeah.
you, do you then wear it?
Yeah, if I could, I could wear it when I have a special dinner with indeed like a royal banquet. I could wear it, and then it should be written in the invitation that you wear it, that you wear your honors, and then you see people
Really?
wearing their medals. Yeah.
So have you been able to wear it anywhere posh?
Well, I'm gonna share a very embarrassing story. So actually, I received my first royal banquet invitation last year. So I was for the first time invited in my new capacity as director of Dutch culture to a royal banquet, but I didn't know that I could wear it. I didn't know because it was my first
Kirsten!
banquet. Yes, I missed my opportunity.
Oh,
So there I was, and I was wearing this dress and everything, and I looked around and I said, oh my goodness, everybody's wearing medals. I could have worn mine.
oh gosh, that is
So
really
there's only
sad.
one thing to do, be invited again for another royal banquet.
I will now call the king and queen. Yes, hello, Alexander. You have to re-invite Kirsten because she forgot to wear her medal. And while you're at it, I'd like to sit next to her. Can you take care of that? Yeah, I never made it to the king. I made it to Princess Margriet's dinner, which was lovely. Yeah.
Lovely. A lovely princess she is. Yeah.
I do love her. Yes, Kirsten,
Yes.
you're cracking a little again with
Oh,
your
I'm
mic.
sorry. I'm sorry. It's I think my glasses.
Yeah, but now there's a little extra something. Maybe you should go out and come back in. Can you do that for me?
Sure. Or
Just read. Yeah,
Is this better now, Aldit?
it is. Yes, you're hearing me through your ear. No, you're hearing me on your laptop now.
Now on the device. Is this better?
Yeah, no, it actually isn't.
No?
I still got a little crackle, and
That's
I hear
true.
you less. But maybe
Okay. And now.
there's a crackle. I wonder if you can just go out of the studio and come back, because just
Yes,
a while ago
I will
you
do.
actually did that. Do that.
I will.
Please come back as soon as you can. As soon as you can. Kirsten is just going to log back in, and I think you noticed that a little while ago. She kind of reset herself, and I think something went wrong at that point. But she's quick as the wind, and as soon as I hear her back in the orange room, I will be entering her back in the program. In the meantime, I'm still looking out for your comments, and there she is already, I think. Her camera is not on yet. I heard. Yes, there she is. Let's see how. Please say something.
How do I sound?
Yes, that's a lot better. Thank you. Let's see. Where were we? Yes. So you forgot your medal. So be it. These things happen, but they won't happen again. Another short little something on you got students. What do you
Yes,
teach students
this
and where?
this is when I taught a course at Amsterdam University, actually on gender equality and intersectional diversity. It was so nice to do, and yeah, I think working with young people is really inspiring. I know you've done it too. It's super. You know, actually, I learned probably as much as they did. So teaching is learning. That's what I really
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. Is that Jamila again on the background?
No, actually, on the
no.
background, no, that's Jantine, who was my my assistant at the time. Yeah.
She's got kind of the eyes that Jamila does. That's why I didn't think it was her, but I just thought I had to ask. So is this a fixed job? Is it something you still do?
No, unfortunately, my current schedule does not allow me to teach anymore, but it's something that I would love to do again. So I taught at Amsterdam University, The Hague University, and yeah, it's so gratifying. So hopefully
Wow.
I get to do it again.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. So what it is you do now, you are now, I think it's been a year since you started doing this, or maybe 2, tell me.
Yeah, almost two. Yeah.
You are now the director of Dutch culture. Explain
Yes,
to people outside of the Netherlands what that is.
Well, Dutch Culture is a platform for international cultural cooperation. So we work with artists here in the Netherlands who have an international ambition, who want to go abroad, work internationally, and we help them along the way. And we also work with Dutch embassies policies in the focal countries of our international cultural policy, and we are like a bridge between those countries and the cultural sector in the Netherlands. So
Yeah.
I work with artists and with the Ministry of Culture and with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it's a nice crossroads to be in, and I'm really thrilled to get to work with amazing people here. And the picture. This was actually last week. I just got back from Chemnitz, a city
in Germany, Eastern
in Germany, and
Mhm.
that will be the cultural capital of Europe next year. And we had a meeting there with other directors of cultural institutes, Goethe, Cervantes, Institut Français, and we had a meeting about well, what geopolitical developments mean to our work and the importance of cultural relations. And yeah, it's so wonderful to be able to do that and be happy doing it. It's a job, but it doesn't feel like one.
But where do you even start talking about that topic? The way
It's huge.
geopolitics, I know.
It's huge, yeah. But yeah, we spoke about the importance of European cooperation. We spoke about the importance of solidarity. We also, of course, spoke about the conflicts that are happening in today's world and what they mean for artists. So yeah, lots to talk about.
And never ending, I guess, this
No.
topic. Yeah.
No.
So are you appointed for a number of years, or are you there until you or they say, let's stop this collaboration?
No, as a director of Dutch culture, I have an appointment for 4 years, and that is renewable for one more term.
Mm-hmm.
So max
Okay.
8 years is the
Max 8
appointment,
years, yeah.
and that is the case in more institutions like this. So and I think that's super healthy. I think actually in places where you also work with public money, it's a bit like the blue chair that's a borrowed chair. I think it's important to remain
Never
humble and be conscious that
never stick around too long.
no.
Yeah, right. So I'm wondering all this. I mean, I told you just a while ago that the Labour Party should have put you on the top of the list so that finally we would have a female prime minister in the Netherlands. I think I've heard you say somewhere in an interview that, yes, that is your ambition. Am I right?
Yeah, I said that. I said that also because I think it's important to speak your dreams out loud, or to speak ambition. Also because it can be inspiring to other people. With the turn that my life has taken now, I don't see myself doing that in the next years, but never say never. I have to say I am worried with the turn that Dutch politics have taken during the last elections. We have a convicted racist as a leading
Largest
party
leader, leading party.
A party that is not a party, actually, because there's only one member, and that's him. In other countries, for example, Germany, that would not even be allowed.
No. I actually think it's not even officially allowed in the Netherlands, but you probably know better than I do.
I'm not an expert. I think it is allowed, but I'm not an expert. But I think it's really worrisome where we're headed. And yeah, I hurt. I hurt for that. It really hurts, and I know many people who feel hurt by what's happening
and actually lose hope.
Yes,
people are losing hope, and people are definitely losing their trust in politics.
Yeah,
because it seems as if let me call it, the rules we used to have for politics, they're all down the drain. It's like we're in what do you call that? We're drifting. We're slowly sinking away in a pool of mud. Is how I feel.
Many people feel that way, and that's worrisome because we need fresh blood. We need new people. We need ambition. We need new ideas. And fortunately, there's still a lot of young women and young men who feel that urge to actually, take their ideals and go work with them. And that's also why I'm on the board of Stem op een Vrouw, Vote for a Woman, an initiative here in the Netherlands that actually wants to promote the representation of women in Parliament with great success, I must say. And big shout
Very
out
great.
to founder Devika Partiman, who really did a lot to make
She
women's
told me she'd be
voices heard.
watching today. So, Devika, if you're there, you've been very quiet. I thought you might have commented left or right, but we don't care because your name has now fallen. Devika Partiman did a tremendous job, like you said.
Yes. So
Marlies says it's a disaster, or Dutch politics, and she's
yeah,
very right.
yeah.
And DJ adds to that. Alas, society is becoming more divisive.
That is so true,
divisive,
DJ. That's so true, and that is you know, what they're trying to play out. They're trying to zoom in on making it more divisive, and I think we should not allow that to happen.
Yeah.
We should not allow that to happen.
They claim it's because we, the public, are fighting each other. But what is, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it is them setting it up for us to be against each other all the time. Am I right
Well,
in this?
I believe that there is people who are blowing up certain things and not wanting to see other things. So I see a society that's really craving for connection. I see a society that's really craving for more love. But if you say those words out loud, you're called naive.
You're
exactly,
left, you're
exactly.
whatever.
And I think that's just simply not true. I think the majority of people is not interested in division. I think the majority of people is interested in meaningful connections, in really reaching out to people in need. People in essence are empathic creatures. And I think it is time to let that side out.
Yes, it is. And you're doing your part. I'm trying my little part. And I know many people are. It's just maybe I don't always share your optimistic view. I'm there. I have to admit there are many days in which I, look around.
I understand.
What's the point? What's even the point?
I actually can I read something?
Please.
Can I? So I brought this little booklet that I have here on my table. It is written by another friend, HEvolution, a wonderful author, and it's called A Perfect Day to Be Brave. And I want to read a little bit. And it says,
please do. Yeah.
Today is a perfect day to be brave and begin the new. The old is dying, everyone keeps saying, and the new is not born yet. Between occurs the morbid symptoms, said a wise guy once. But there are enough of us, and we are beautiful enough to prevail over the morbid symptoms and claim the day to begin the new, the humane, and the just. Being brave is the beginning of liberation. It feels like a fall until you remember you have wings. Humans are the species that have the largest wings. Remember, just don't forget.
Wow, I have to let that sink in. That does give me a little hope, and that thank you for sharing that. I'd never heard that, and it kind of resonates with me. In in those dark moments when you think, what, like I said, what's the point? It's good that something like this, which is art, which is language, it's what we've been talking about, for goodness sakes, for almost 2 hours now. It's all coming back within that text. Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah. Donna says, maybe life is not linear, but cyclical.
Yeah, I think it is.
Circle. Yeah. I think you even said so at the very beginning of the program. Wow. I'm going to take a little moment here to talk about your private life. Very little, because I know you're a very private person, but I think you're the embodiment of everything that you say. You married this very attractive man from Egypt.
Indeed.
And I'm sharing this kind of private picture of the two of you. Anything you can share with us that kind of ties together everything we've talked about today, you being married to him, and all of that we've talked about today?
Yeah, I think that is summed up in what is actually the core of everything. It begins and ends with love. And I'm really a big believer in love. I think love is not getting the attention it deserves in our world. I think love is the most powerful force of nature. Yeah, I'm really blessed to have found love when I didn't expect it.
On a train, I
On a
believe.
train, yes, on a
Yeah.
train, on a train in Egypt, and to be able to share my life with someone I love is a great blessing. And yeah, I think love can take many shapes and forms, and I think it's really important that that we allow it to grow, to give it attention, to cherish it, to nurture it.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what this world is really desperately in need of. All sorts of forms of shapes of love.
Of love, exactly. I'm going to give you an opportunity in just a few minutes to end up with a special thought that you would like to share with the viewers. So I'm giving you that moment. And while you think, Kirsten, I would like to tell the viewers that next month will be a new edition of Poca TV Live. That will be on the last Friday of April, because you know this program takes place on every last Friday of the month. And my special guest then will be Lloyd Stanbury, who is a Jamaican music business consultant. And he knows a lot about reggae and about marketing reggae and putting it back where it belongs, on the forefront. I know I met Lloyd online, but we've been meeting up at different festivals around the world, reggae festivals, obviously. And I'm going to pick his brain on what's going on with reggae music. That will be next month. When I say going on, I mean nothing going on with reggae music. And I'm going to ask him to explain why reggae is dead. April the 26th, that will be at 6 o'clock Central European time. Remember, the last Friday of April. A quick look in the comment section again. Where is Kirsten? She's right there. Comment section. Oh wow, here's Lucy saying, love is all we need, definitely. And she says, one world, one love. I'm
Yes.
gonna, Lucy, I think you and I could be great friends. And I'm really happy that you got to join this program today. So have you had a chance, Kirsten, to come up with a thought, a feeling, an emotion, advice? Take it away, it's yours.
Yeah, I want to get back to my quote, my my motto: without change, no butterflies. And I think it's important in times when there's darkness surrounding us, where we feel that change is impossible, to think of that butterfly, because a butterfly was a caterpillar once, and the butterfly believed that it could become a butterfly that spread its wings. And in line with the quote of AJ that I just read, I think it's important that we spread our wings. So really think about, what can we do to become that butterfly ourselves? Everybody has wings to spread in one way or the other. And yeah,
Just
I think,
don't be afraid to go there.
and to ask for help sometimes. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. And also, don't underestimate the power of a butterfly wing. There's this beautiful meteorological phenomenon called the butterfly effect, where the flap of a butterfly can actually cause a hurricane miles away. And I
Wow.
think that's a beautiful symbol for how change can happen with something really small. Never underestimate that power within yourself, or
Within
within the
yourself.
people. Yes,
Yeah.
within yourself or the
Within
people
yourself.
around you. Maybe
Yeah.
you can give somebody else that little push that they need to spread their wings, and maybe their wings will create a revolution. You never know. So
You never do.
that is really my what I would like to
It's a
send out
beautiful
here.
thought. It's an absolutely beautiful thought. And on that note, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your Friday evening, Kirsten. It's been most wonderful talking to you, and we should do more of it, if only our agendas could coincide a bit more. I really want to thank you for being my guest today. You've been invaluable. Wonderful woman that you are.
Thank you so much, Aldit, for having me. This was a joy, really a true joy. And yeah, I really admire your work and your passion and compassion. And yeah, more of this.
More of this, more women out there in the open. I'm going to play out, Kirsten, with a very unlikely video. I was on YouTube looking for a video to end this program with, and I typed in powerful women. It has to be music, I must say. And guess what came up way on top was a video, a K-pop music. And for some strange reason, it's sung in Brazilian Portuguese.
Oh,
Who knows? And what I get from the video is that the power of a woman is when she dodges arrows, bow and arrow by men and wolves. I don't know what to make of it, but it's a catchy tune. So that's how we're going to play out. I want to thank you yet again, and I'll be talking to you, WhatsApping you. Remember to stay in the orange room.
I will.
And let's just play out by saying, end of April, I'll be back with a new episode, like I was telling you. Until such time, be good, be kind, be careful, and take care of each other. Bye, everybody. Bye, bye, bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Preciso.